again, it's Cliff here. It's early 2017 and I wanted to give you an update on the impact tolerant touch probe and where I'm at with it currently. I was hoping to be shipping them out this month and I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update. I've been getting quite a few emails and questions about when are they going to be available. So here's a quick summary of the situation, a short version, and then I'll go on a short version in case some of you are in a hurry, and then I'll go on and give some more information beyond that for those of you who have time and are interested in the details. So first, a super quick recap to put it in perspective. I'm sure a lot of you know that low-cost touch probes are notoriously unreliable and inaccurate. I've had a lot of emails from viewers confirming that that is the case. I haven't had any emails saying I have A, B, C touch probe which is accurate and reliable. So my task right from the beginning was to design and develop a touch probe that is low cost, accurate, reliable and impact tolerant. And two of those three tasks, the accurate and impact tolerant, was relatively easy sort of mechanical development procedure, but the long-term reliability task has proven to be really challenging, and I've got a much deeper understanding of the issues now, but it has been really challenging to get a probe which is essentially uses 6 precision electrical switches to operate 100% reliably week in and week out without ever faulting is a pretty tough challenge. And you can buy low-cost probes that kind of work most of the time, but if you want to capitalize on the probing routines of PathPilot and Mach 3 and automatically probe and set your part, you need a probe that is reliable and will operate 100% of the time. And so that's been my challenge. Okay, this is supposed to be a summary for those of you in a hurry, so come on Cliff, speed it up. So about a month ago I finally found a combination of contact materials and the right brew of electrical fluid that would give 100% reliability, and after many days of testing a whole set of probes, I had 100% reliability for a month of tests, pages and pages of tests. And I've felt confident enough to begin to ship out to the early adopters. And then I was just doing a final set of tests and one probe showed a fault in one situation. And that's serious for me. It's not an easily repeatable fault, so it's a sort of an erratic fault. All the other probes are operating fine, and that probe's operating fine 99% of the time, but I've got a 1% fault, and I'm really just not happy proceeding with the plan with this situation. I want to understand what's going on, and I need time to do so. So I have to halt progress for a while now and investigate more deeply and do more long-term tests. That's the kind of summary. If you have time, I'll go on now to explain a bit more about it. So in order to find ways to develop a probe that has really good long-term reliability, obviously I had to understand deeply what are the various factors involved and what can go wrong, and find out ways to speed up trialing different versions, different types of materials, different types of fluids and different settings and so on. And obviously if you took a year to test each combination, you could be 10 years developing something. So when you find the beginnings of an issue, what you could call a precursor to the issue, you need to find ways of measuring the precursor and exaggerating the issues so that you can identify what they are more quickly. And that took me many weeks, right up until I found the sort of what I thought was the breakthrough combination about a month ago. And I had the right choice. Eventually I thought I had the right choice of contact materials, the right fluid, the right double acting spring system, and all the variables nailed down so it was 100% reliable. And I'd found ways of testing precursors to the issues. For example, using a ohm meter to measure climbing impedance is a way of measuring oxidization of the contacts, which is one issue you can have. Another way is you can do accelerated tests measuring oxidization of different fluids or electrical fluids to see how they perform in an exaggeratedly difficult situation with salt water and so on. All these various tricks you can use to speed up the procedure, but all the same it takes a long time. And if you're going to warranty a probe, for example, for 12 months, you really need to test it pretty well. You don't want to sell hundreds of them and find in 11 months' time they start faulting. And this is what happens with low-cost probes. They are just not reliable. And so this was a really big challenge for me. So I had all these probes operating really reliably, and I was ready to ship out. And then this one probe occasionally began to fault. And that would stay in the open position of the switch. It's an intermittent fault. And so I've got to run it for hundreds of cycles before it shows up again. And it's really difficult to understand. So I need to take my time now and find out whether the other probes will over time begin to develop the same fault, or whether it's an isolated fault that is very rare and is unlikely to be a problem long term. This obviously takes time. And I know a lot of you are waiting. You want one of these probes as soon as possible. Perhaps you're stalling on a decision. You don't know whether to buy a Hallmark or a different low-cost probe, or to invest in a several $1,000 high-end probe. And you're kind of frustrated because you want to know where I'm at. So I feel duty-bound to tell you honestly this is where I'm at. It could be a while now before I'm again confident that these probes are perfect. One of the big challenges with a touch probe is that it has to be accurate and reliable long term. The whole point of it is to save you time when you're setting up your work. The probing routine is a great time saver. You can just quickly find the center or the edge of a part. And the whole point of it is that it operates quickly and reliably. If you've got to pull it apart and clean the contacts, which is openly admitted to as a requirement for some of these probes, in order for them to operate reliably, you're not really benefiting from it. You might as well have a Hallmark or a wobbler. I've been determined to find a way to make it reliable, and that's been a really big challenge. I'm just rambling on here for those of you who are interested in the subject. So one of the things you can do is a multi-probe routine which does about 20 or so switches. As it finds the size of the part, spins around the edges of it, approximately finds the middle, and then it double checks itself and does a very accurate slow probe on each of the four faces. And the advantage of this is that it does about 20 switches and finds a XY coordinate position relative to the part, and then you can put in another work offset, G55, G56, and so on, and repeat the procedure, and then go to XY0 and then scroll between the different G work offset positions and check that it's accurate. So that tests for reliability and accuracy. But that's a pretty kind of clunky way of checking a probe. If you really want to check it efficiently, I found it's much better to try and find ways of measuring precursors to issues. I'll just set up now and show you that. So if the internal probe contacts are beginning to develop a problem such as arcing and carbon buildup or oxidizing of the materials, of the contact materials, or other types of microscopic build-up of impedance across the contacts, you want to be able to measure that when it's beginning to happen, not when it actually causes a problem further down the track. I measured what the electrics of the machine can handle before it becomes a problem, and you can have a resistance through the contacts of a couple of 100 ohms and the probe will still work fine. But if you get a resistance of 500 ohms, then PathPilot Tormac will see that as an open circuit. So obviously you can't allow the impedance to keep climbing. You can put an ohm meter on it and measure what the ohms are of resistance with different combinations of materials and different fluids and so on, until you find the best combination, and test it over time and watch the impedance climb with the poor choices. And there were many different poor choices and very few good choices, finally, when I got the breakthrough combination, I was very relieved to find, okay, oh, there goes the phone, hold on. Sorry about that. So you can imagine, after a month of testing the breakthrough combination with not a single fault or impedance climbing, I was really disappointed when I got a fault. Now I have to find the source of the fault and find out whether it is going to develop in the other probes or whether it's just a rare random issue. But because these are low-cost probes, many hundreds of them per annum would need to be sold for it to be a viable business. And you can't have a business model like that, selling several hundred a year, if there's even 5% of them giving problems. That you could, and a lot of businesses do, start up with an unreliable product, and they can be successful in the short term for a year or two, but I'm not really interested in that type of business model. I want a long-term successful business, and I'm prepared to wait until I can get a perfect product. I've developed other products in the past, and one of them is currently selling around the world, and I've learned some of these lessons the hard way, and I've watched other people learn them the hard way as well, and I really want to avoid the pitfalls here. So thank you for your patience, and I hope it's been an interesting journey for you following me on this journey. I will keep you posted. It could be a few months before I'm confident that the probes are all going to be reliable. So just watch this space. Cheers. So thanks for watching that long-winded video right to the end. Most appreciated. And thank you very much for your support. I've had a lot of emails from you guys, and it's really helped keep me focused, and I really appreciate that. Cheers.